We're doing skidoo stuff again tonight. Greg, what parts did you bring over tonight?
I brought a fuel tank, some carbides, rear drivers, grease, chain, gears, bunch of stuff.
What we don't have is the bracket for the brake caliper. So I did some cardboard aided drafting. Let me put a picture in here. So that gives you an idea. I got a buddy that runs a water jet, so he's cutting one out for us, but we don't know when it'll get here. We may not see it for a couple weeks, but I don't know. We can still plumb up the brake caliper and just put on the bracket later. So, anyways, that's what we're doing. We're just back at the skidoo. All right, Greg wants to know how we're going to figure out what this top nut is here. And he brought one, but the thread pitch is obviously wrong. This is much finer thread. So, yeah, it's literally just caliper and C. And it looks pretty darn close to 5/8, but it's also pretty close to M16. So, here's the thing. If that's a 5/8, you can see how the thread pitch is. This is a 3/16 thread checker. You can just hold it up and see if the threads mesh right. And the 3/16 doesn't quite mesh right. But let me get one that's a 1.5 pitch. Here's an M10 1.5 metric, and it's a perfect match. So that's how we know if it's a 1.5 millimeter thread pitch, that is 100% for sure going to be an M16 by a 1.5 castle nut. Now, where are we going to find that? I don't know. So that's what this has come down to. They've got these flathead screws, and then they got these little nuts that we can't get any socket to bite onto. So we got to grind off the heads of the flathead screws and punch them out. Oh well, things you do when you love your hobby. So it's officially a roadblock night. Everything's a roadblock. So Greg brought over, where'd those other spindles go, Greg? Greg brought over these really cool offset forged spindles that we were going to try to run on this thing, but they're not going to work. If you look at the spindles that were on it, this spline's tapered and there's a hole in the top for the bolt. None of the above for this. So they don't work. I mean, they're like the right length and diameter and stuff, but Greg needs different steering arms at the top. So that's a roadblock. So this thing's another roadblock. Everything's stuck together. We can't get these flanges off even though we got the bolts out. You can see things are getting mangled. So my suggestion to Greg is to take it home, build a roaring hot campfire, and throw it in there. And the point of that would be to melt out all these rubber flanges. So there's evidence in there. It looks like they painted both sides of these outside pieces. So we think it's all kind of glued together with that, plus rust. So at least the campfire will get rid of the rubber, break the glue, anything else. And we can at least see what we're working with in there. And then once it's been through the fire, well, it won't be a giant smoky mess in the shop if we have to get out the cutting torch to heat it up. So there you go. That's our sum total of work for a whole evening. I mean, Greg did get all these bolts out. Yeah, and oh yeah, the other roadblock, that nut I showed you earlier that didn't fit. So, and of course we don't have the bracket. So, roadblock, roadblock, roadblock. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Yeah, we're having some beers. We're happy. We'll figure it out. So we're at part 2 of part 2. Greg's made some progress. Greg, you have solved this problem quite nicely. Look at how clean he got that and everything's straight. Tell him what really happened, Greg.
I went over to Goose's and bought a new shaft for $10.
10
Wasn't worth trying to screw around with the other one.
No, it wasn't. For $10. Well, we'll still throw that other
Yeah.
one in a campfire next summer sometime.
Yeah.
You know, but for $10, and then he bought new flanges too, so it makes this a lot nicer. So this is the back axle, if you remember where we were damn near 2 weeks ago. So we're just going to get this thing bolted in. And, oh yeah, remember we were going to, it was probably 30 seconds ago in the video, but it was 2 weeks for us. We were going to put on those offset forged spindles and they didn't work. Greg brought over the right steering arm, so we're going to get after that too. So,
Spindles there.
oh yeah, and then what else, Greg?
Bought a stock 70 Blizzard 340 muffler from Buck Jarvis.
Stock reproduction. But it's cool. It's legal.
Better than the can muffler.
Better than the can muffler. And where's it going to come out? Right here?
Yep.
So it's going to shoot exhaust right on his foot. It'll be great.
It'll be good.
Oh, you got the other one on.
Yep. And we got Dave here with us today.
Moral support.
Moral support.
Yep.
All right. We're going to get after it. We'll bring you back when we're working on it more. We're confirming my measurements on that castle nut. Remember?
Yep.
Indeed, M16 by 1.5.
It is getting tight though, but that could be just a grease on the
Grease or getting that thing's probably dinged up from being in and out. If you threaded it in past the cotter pin hole,
No, you're
that's it.
that's confirmed. That's an M16 by 1.5. Nothing else would go on like 8 turns like that.
About a thread and a half.
All right, so there you go. Greg, where'd you get it?
Menards.
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 I would have never thought Menards sells Skidoo parts.
Yeah.
There you go. This is kind of funny. So there's my grease gun with the rubber tip, but the tip's gone. You can see I pumped that full of purple grease up there. And where do you think the tip ended up?
Need that rubber tip and magnet.
We need a rubber magnet, Dave says.
We need a rubber magnet.
We need a rubber magnet. Or we're just going to pull the exhaust off right now. Got it. We had to pull the secondary all the way out. But, oh, you can't see it? Definitely in there. There it is. Grease gun tip. Greg brought in a 17-tooth top washer to get some miles per hour, but
Yeah, different secondary, evidently.
what did this come off of?
This is off a 72 TNT 292. This is off a 72 Nordic 440.
And what's that shaft off of?
This is off a Safari clutch.
So we got a complete mix and match here, folks. We don't know. Well, we know one works, right? Which one works? The small one?
The 15 tooth.
The 15-tooth works. Well,
I guess we'll start off with that. We can always change it from. That's
Yeah.
why we're changing this chain case so we can change it.
yeah. At least we got something you can run around with.
Yep.
Hey, you'll come out of the corners really good with that.
Put a different secondary on there.
We're looking at the chain case. Why don't you show them this one first, Greg? So you see how far out that castle nut sticks and that shaft is? Yeah, that's not going to fly. No. All right, then the second issue, we've got my 1.25" belt alignment gauge on there, and you can see it's pretty far off. Big gap over here. So, and, oh, here's the kicker. Although this one's easily fixed, we got to shim the bearing more. But, well, wait, when I pull the bearing all the way up, that lines up.
It's a lot closer, ain't it?
Yeah, so let's start with some shims between the gear and the bearing until we get that torqued right.
We probably have to take some grind half of that washer off or nut off.
Oh, this entire secondary shaft is going to have to come off because these are flush.
Try your cover now. You moved it a bunch.
It got worse, I guarantee you.
Well, yeah, but the last time we have enough indentation right here for the shaft, but the nut's hitting right now.
Maybe we got to cut a big hole in the cover and do some aluminum welding too.
Or take a 1/4 inch off the nut.
Yeah, well, we'd have to take a 1/4 inch off the shaft then too.
Well, the shaft fits in that indentation. So
You sure? Okay.
we did it when Stromberg was here.
All right. Well,
Things to check.
there you go. So when you're trying to do fun modification stuff and upgrades, yeah. So if you're wondering how well I know Greg, I'm going to shave his nut for him. Patron pizza break here. Little pizza, little beer, little break time.
Let it cool down before you burn your mouth.
You didn't bite it right away?
No.
No.
There we go.
Burn the roof of your mouth.
Thanks, patrons. We appreciate you. All right, we've been playing with it for a while, and we definitely made progress. So as you saw, I shaved the nut down, and the nut will catch the hole. And we got the bearing preload set up right, and we got the chain alignment set up right.
No, the clutch alignment's not right.
Clutch alignment's a bit of an issue. Let's see if we can show you. We got to
You
move.
might want to come this.
Yeah, we got to move the motor over 1/4 of an inch now to get the clutch aligned. It's just a fact of life, the way these parts stack up. We can't do much else. As Greg just pointed out off camera, once we put the cotter pin through this hole down here, I mean that's it. We can't pull the chain case out because that'll pull the drivers off center in the tunnel. So it's got to be the motor that moves, Greg. I don't
agree.
see a choice. If we're going to keep the drivers centered, that's the only way.
Obviously, that's what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do, folks. Oh, hang on. We're learning things here. I'm learning it's not like a skedaddler at all. With the skedaddler, these would be carriage bolts and slots, but on a skidoo, it's not. Greg says these are serrated. It does seem like
Yep, they are. See the
they're serrated like a lug nut on a car. I think I'm going to slot those, and we're going to do carriage bolts like a skedaddler, Greg. What do you think?
That's fine.
I don't see any way. This top piece, we can probably let that ride, and we'll just
You
slot.
see this serration?
Yeah, that's why they weren't turning, but they did turn. I mean, we did strip mount too.
This
but,
one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got some machine work to do then. No biggie. All right, we're discussing other ideas here. What do you want to do, Greg?
I'm thinking if you just slot this out,
Just cut it.
cut it out on both front and rear,
Put a big strap over it or
and
something.
then, or yeah, just washer,
Yep.
and then just oblong this hole and this one on the front side.
Yeah.
It's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. All right. That's probably the plan.
Because
Are we even gonna unbolt it off the motor, Greg?
well, we can. It's
It's
we'll
just
tip
4
it up-
bolts.
Yeah, 4 bolts.
All right, we'll get that thing off the motor and we'll have at her.
But that whole
Motor mount butchery complete. It's only 26 horsepower, but it's now fully adjustable, and we can
Got
get
a
a
good
little.
1/4 inch.
Yeah, we can go side to side, and we can do a little bit about the parallelism, and we'll just use the washers we need to use, and I don't know. We ought to be able to get it aligned. What do you think?
It'll be good enough.
Good enough.
It's got to go 20 miles.
Only 20 miles. That's all the longer the Wild Bill is. All smiles. Greg, you even got a smile. Greg even smiled. Check out this engine alignment. Right on. My fancy alignment gauge lands in the center. So we did the slot, and just like Greg said, and then we tacked it down front and rear just so it can't move. Now, if you want to pull the motor out, you got to pull these 4 out, which is what you would have done anyways, because normally you never take these loose. So it's all good. We're happy. I mean, where that's tacked, it should never flex or anything in there because it's between the bolts. I don't know, Greg. I think it looks good. What do you think?
It'll be fine. Wild Bill 20, here we come.
20 miles.
Whoop, whoop.
What you doing, Greg?
Working on a skidoo.
Forged offset spindles
Widening the Elan.
without spacers, really. I mean, You could still do spacers on top of this if you.
I don't need it. It'd be like riding a motorcycle.
I like wide spacers, but that's me. They just bolt right up. All the bolts line up.
Hopefully.
Does it go through? It goes through. All right, folks. We'll bring you back when we're done. We'll show you what the steering arms and whatnot. Apparently, this is a year difference. Greg says this setup with that spindle and that arm is off in a later Elan SS?
74 Elan SS.
Well, you can see he's not going to turn very hard, and that's what the bolt head there. Easily fixed with the grinder.
The grinder will work good.
Grinder will take care of that.
On the bulkhead or whatever.
Yep, we'll just shave off that pinch weld right in the vicinity of where the bolt goes. No biggie. Look at, he even marks it. Fancy, Greg.
Please learn it.
All right, Greg, let's show him this.
Hang on.
You gonna take the washer off?
I don't know. Might be the same.
Well, if you take the washer off, you'll be able to turn a little further.
I don't know if that's the right bolt or not.
So there you see it, folks.
Yeah, the washer shouldn't really make much of a difference. Good steering stop.
Well, you want it too. Here, stir it again. So the hood sits inside the belly pan there, and you don't want to stop on the hood.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a good steering stop. I'd say we go with that. And you got all the room the other way. All good.
You can still grind some off that one corner.
All right, so we're working on the steering now, and what we've learned is the original tie rods are too short to work with these arms. So that seems like a good stopping point for tonight. And I can come back and make some new tie rods for Greg, and I'll probably throw that into this video. But that's how far we got. All right, it's the next morning. We've been out here for an hour, and we got some good progress to show you. Check this out. This is Greg's brand new custom aluminum tie rods. We got rid of the old steel ones that were too short to work with these arms. We did have to bend the arms a little bit so that we could run the tie rod on the bottom and the drag link on the top. There's just not enough space between there to run them both on the top. They're going to jam up. But everything's looking good. This side's a match. Everything's just peachy. We got clearance everywhere. It's all going to turn. It's going to work great. What do you think, Greg?
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. That's all I get out of them. I'm pretty happy with this. I woke up this morning and all I had to do was spend a half an hour finding my 3/8 24 left-hand tap. Once I found that, it went really quick. So there you go. All right, well, you want to show them what we got going on? We got to the trying to fit the exhaust up part, and not real good news. It's just not lining up. It's hitting the steering.
Hitting the
It's hitting the recoil on the other side. It's on the running boards. It's gonna need some cutting and welding and fitting before it lines up. Which, I don't know. Probably about where your hand is. We'd have to take some off there maybe. And then add it in here
Probably.
to move it over. I don't know. I think Greg's gonna call the guy that made the exhaust pipe first and see what he thinks before we start hacking it. Well, that's the way it goes when you're trying to do custom stuff. All right, we're checking hood clearance, and yeah, there's plenty. It's all good on the hood, except for where you'd expect right here where it's a tight fit. But other than that, it's all good. Greg, your recoil's going to stay toasty warm. Wow.
Might melt the sticker.
Might.
Oh, well.
Yeah. All right, we're going to cut and make it fit, or what are we going to do?
Let's cut it. Let's make it work.
We're going to cut her up. Well, little run to the auto parts store for some tubing and some fitting, and we got it tacked up. That's what we had to do. So we actually had to get a bigger tube all the way in there on that flange to seal up to the pipe, And then this is real good here. Fits real good. Got it down here. We got room to the recoil, so hopefully we won't scorch the recoil rope. Greg says he's just going to run a spring right across from here to here just to hold it on. I don't know. What do you think, Greg? I think it looks pretty good.
It's going to be perfect.
I think it's going to work great and sound great. So we're going to pull her off there, and I'm going to finish welding it. All right, we just thought we'd show you how we're getting the exhaust off. We just loosened up the steering loop, and there you go. Good to go. All right, we're done. We're done.
Done with the exhaust.
We're done with the exhaust. Yeah, we got a long ways to go. So, yeah, the head pipe got a little bit longer. But all the spring retainers worked out good. I just made up some little loops out of 3/32 TIG wire and welded them onto the flange. And everything seems to fit good. And got clearance to the recoil. That's important. And it should clear the hood, too. At least it did last time we checked. We'll check again. I'm pretty sure Greg's not cutting a big hole in his hood for this, though. So there you go. We're getting to the home stretch. I think we got to put in the back axle and bungee cord a seat on it at this point.
Put fuel lines on.
Some fuel line work. All right, we'll bring you
belt.
the belt. Yep.
I haven't brought over a belt yet. Son of a gun.
No. Well, we'll bring you back when we get something else done. All right, folks. You know Greg wants to hear how this new exhaust sounds. And I'm going to fumble with the squirt bottle. Greg's pretty excited about it. Give her. Whoa, your clutch is coming off, Greg.
Woo!
You see that? The clutch.
Well, good. Now we can take that off.
The clutch unscrewed itself. Skidoo things. Well, we're going to call it there. We got a lot done. How do you like the sound of your exhaust?
It's loud.
It's loud. It's really loud.
It's loud.
I was more entertained by the clutch unscrewing itself. It does have, well, that's not a retaining bolt.
No.
So these Skidoo clutches, they just kind of screw on, and
They screw on. They should tighten up though, and
they should tighten up when the belt's on.
Yep.
But there's no belt on this one.
And it was supposedly a rebuilt engine, so
So probably never got locked down good. Huh, crazy. I didn't know that about Skidoos.
easy to pull off the clutch now though. It's off.
Well, yeah, now we're all set for whatever clutch you're going to put on it.
Yep, I can put the Comet on now.
Oh, you're going to put on a Duster?
I think so.
Ribbed? Ribbed for her pleasure, Comet 94C Duster?
If I can find one.
Okay, I might be able to help you with that. I know where to get rib covers. All right, so with that said, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We got a whole lot done on this. And
Getting closer.
like Greg said earlier, I didn't think it was going to take this long. It always takes this long. Everything is always this custom. It's one thing after another. You change the spindles. I change the steering arms. Now you need custom tie rods. And now everything has to get modified. The pipe had to get modified.
Exhaust, yeah.
That's just what we do when we're building sleds. Nothing stock, so nothing just fits. All right, so thanks for watching. And if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please hit subscribe. Got a huge thanks to Darren Lumby for the super thanks he sent us. That was a biggie. Really appreciate you, Darren. Anybody else that doesn't know about super thanks, there's this little button that looks like a heart with a $sign in it. If you hit that, you send money to the channel. A, it helps us support the channel with beer and pizza and parts and everything else we need to keep the shop going. And B, it really wakes up the YouTube algorithm, and YouTube goes, whoa, people like this channel, and it sends it out to more people. So if you want to help spread your favorite snowmobile channel to more people, that's a great way. Another great way is to join the Patreon. If you join on Patreon, obviously you can see their names are up here, and there's 2 screens worth of names. And the patrons get to watch all the videos early and ad-free over on Patreon. And they also get some patron-only videos. So patrons, I really appreciate your support of the channel and helping to keep the beer and the pizza going for us. So with that said, we'll see you on the trails.